Welcome to Small Business, Big Network, the podcast for small business owners who want big results from their networking. I'm Liz Drury, a freelance voiceover artist who knows that if you're not working, then networking could help. Kevin Yates works in the learning and development industry and is known as the L&D Detective. He's also the founder of a non-profit organisation called Meals in the Meantime. Kevin loves a conference for networking and says that conferences are just like a big family reunion. This episode is kindly sponsored by the Content Consultancy, founded by content confidence coach Kate Llewellyn. You'll hear more about her products and services later in the show. Thank you very much for being my guest on the podcast today, Kevin.
Liz, it is so good to hear your voice. I'm happy to be here.
Now, you call yourself the L&D Detective, and you're also the founder of Meals in the Meantime, both of which we'll dig into in a bit. But I wanted to know about your background first, Kevin. What did you train in, and what was your first job?
Wow, my first job. You're really going to make me go way back in ancient history here. So right out of college, my first job was recruiting at an executive recruiting firm. And so this was quite some time ago, and the organization was focused on recruiting executive level roles in the accounting industry. And so in essence, I was a cold caller, right? I was calling on organizations, specifically in their accounting departments, and identifying their needs for talent. And we had a pool of talent in the organization where I worked. And so my role was matching the talent with the needs of the organizations. So that was like my first job right out of college.
Yeah, and how did you find that cold calling?
I don't remember. As much as I remember is this, when I graduated from college, I did not have a job in hand. And so what I recall is just being on the hunt for an opportunity, and something that was within the business management space, because my undergraduate degree was in business management. And so, this recruiting job in talent was kind of like my foot in the door to get the bigger roles that I really wanted.
Yeah.
So that's how that played out.
And what was it that attracted you to working in learning and development in particular?
Now, that's a great question. So, I'm moving along in the business world, right? And it reached a point where I felt like I wanted to do something different. I wanted to do something else. And so at that particular time, I quit the job that I had, and I started substitute teaching in the Chicago public schools.
Yeah.
And it was there, Liz, that I discovered a passion for teaching and learning and education. And so what I decided to do was pursue teaching as a career. And so I then went back to university, got a master's degree in curriculum and instruction and education. And then I started teaching as a teacher. Shortly thereafter, unfortunately, I discovered that the salary and the income of teaching did not allow me to achieve some of the life goals that I had, personal goals that I had. And so I figured, hey, why not transfer this passion that you have for teaching and learning and education into the corporate space, where there is greater opportunity to, have an income that aligns with what my goals are. And so the transition was really me going from a classroom of teaching children to a classroom of teaching adults.
Yeah.
So I was able to maintain the passion that I have for teaching and learning and education, but do it in an environment where, again, the income would be more aligned with the goals that I have for my life.
Yeah. And was that an easy transition to make from teaching kids to teaching adults?
It was an easy transition because, oddly enough, behaviors that you see in children in elementary school classrooms is often the same behaviors that you see in adults in a corporate training room, albeit a lot more mature, but the behaviors were still the same. And so I was still able to apply some of those classroom management skills that I used as a public school teacher. And then there was, curriculum development, which I was able to those skills for curriculum development, and I was able to transfer that to the corporate setting. So the transition wasn't very difficult at all. Not
Yeah.
for me, anyway.
Interesting. So tell me about some of the companies that you then went on to work for.
Wow, there's quite a few. And so my first corporate job was with a small community bank on the south side of Chicago called Pullman Bank. That then led to a role with the Kemper Insurance. And then from there, I went on to the Chicago Tribune, Information Resources, otherwise known as IRI. I've worked with Grant Thornton. I've worked with Meta. I've worked with Kantar Media. And most recent, and McDonald's, I forgot about
Yeah.
McDonald's. And then most recently, I retired from Facebook, which is known as Meta now. So I've worked with some incredible brands, some really marquee, globally known brands, and I consider myself very fortunate to have had those opportunities because they have really prepared me for where I am today.
Yeah. And so what were you helping them to learn in those environments?
Yeah, and so it's a progression. When I first started, I was a stand-up, day-to-day, boots on the ground facilitator. 6 to 8 hours on my feet doing training classes. After that, I started with instructional design. So I then had an opportunity to use the same materials that I created to facilitate the classes that I was teaching. And then that ultimately led to many different kinds of roles, in the different industries. And those roles include program management, onboarding for new hires, learning operations, learning technology, leadership development. And then most recently, I have been focused on measurement and more specifically impact analytics. So it's measuring how training and learning is contributing to the workplace performance ecosystem. So across those different brands, I led in many different roles. And I believe that is what has informed the work that I do today.
Yeah.
And so it's because I have had the opportunity to work with a lot of marquee brands and have served in many different roles. All of that has, really led me to where I am today.
Yeah. So tell me about the L&D Detective and how you came up with that and what it is that you do.
Yeah, the L&D Detective name, I can't say that I came up with that name on my own. I think that it is the result of many different conversations with practitioners in the global training, learning, and talent development industry. Those conversations were leading toward the idea that just like Sherlock Holmes solved murder mysteries, the work that I was doing was focused on solving measurement mysteries. And so that's where the name L&D Detective came from. It's really a connection to solving measurement mysteries. And it's a brand name that has actually worked quite well for me. And I believe that it describes the work that I do precisely, because I am literally searching after facts, clues, and evidence that answer the question, what is the impact of collective contributions in the workplace performance ecosystem? And so the analogy and the similarity between my work and detective work is very close. And so the L&D Detective name and the L&D Detective brand, I believe, sums that up quite well.
Yeah. So tell me about the L&D Detective kit that you've developed. Who is that for and what can they do with it?
Yeah, I'm really excited about the second edition of the L&D Detective Kit, Liz. And it is what I consider to be an expression and a capture of my most recent thoughts and ideas, and really the transformation of some of my thinking around how to measure impact. The kit itself, I believe, is an actionable way in which L&D practitioners can measure how training and learning as an experience in L&D as a function is measurably contributing to the workplace performance ecosystem. And so the kit itself gives readers the methods, what I call the L&D Detective method, for getting the facts, the clues, and the evidence that reveal how training and learning in L&D are contributing to the workplace performance ecosystem in ways that help organizations achieve their goals. It really captures this idea that I have that it takes a village to impact workplace performance. And so the L&D Detective Kit, I believe, does a great job at helping readers measure the impact of the village.
Tell me, Are you a business owner who finds content creation overwhelming or inconsistent? It's time to stop doing what you think you should or must. It's time to start doing marketing your way. Kate Llewellyn helps serious entrepreneurs and business leaders cut through the noise to build a powerful content strategy that actually drives growth. Join her membership, the Confident Content Creators Club, for the structure and clarity you need to plan with purpose and create content with confidence. Ready for an immediate mindset shift? Grab Kate's free 4-day Content Confidence audio series. It's designed to instantly help you identify your limiting beliefs and the specific barriers stopping your content creation success. Sign up today and stop letting self-doubt drive your business marketing. Just go to thecontentconsultancy.com/content-confidence-audio. Now, the other thing that I know you're heavily involved in is volunteering, and you're a founder of Meals in the Meantime. Tell us what that is and how it came about.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what, Liz? I'm actually wearing my Meals in the Meantime T-shirt.
I wish we could see it.
I wish you could see it, yeah. And so back in May of 2021, I had the idea to help people who need food. It was right in the midst of the pandemic. And I was laying in bed one day just kind of thinking about my larger purpose in life. And I just wanted to find a way in which I could make an impact with communities and people who are struggling with food insecurity, because hunger is much more common than we may think, right? And so I did the work of determining how to create a nonprofit organization, a 501c3, work with individuals who helped me set up Meals in the Meantime. And 5 years later, we have given away 27 tons of free, fresh, healthy, high-quality food. We do that with pop-up food pantries, drive-through pop-up food pantries in Chicagoland, south suburbs. And we give free grocery bags of food covering the 5 major food groups of fruits, vegetables, proteins, grains, and dairy. We really focus on fresh fruits and vegetables, versus canned goods. There's nothing wrong with canned goods at all. We just choose to focus on vegetables and fruits that are fresh. And so helping people who need food and fighting food insecurity has just really been a joy for me. I believe it's my purpose, Liz. I believe that I am literally living a purpose-driven life, knowing that the work that we do is changing the lives of those who, or rather helping those, I don't want to say changing their lives, but we're helping people who are struggling with access to food. And so the work that we do is important, it's critical, and I'm proud to do it.
Yeah, and I think that's wonderful that you're supplying fresh food to people. A lot of I don't know it's the same in America, but the food banks here tend to be full of tins and packets and so on, because it keeps longer. So are there many other people doing what you do?
Yeah, there are definitely, here in the U.S., there are other pantries that are focused on free, fresh, healthy foods, fresh fruits and fresh vegetables. As a matter of fact, Liz, I did some volunteering yesterday at another pantry here in Chicagoland, and I was just amazed at the produce, the fresh produce that they had for food pantry visitors. So I see a trend where there are more pantries that are focused on the natural sources of the foods that nourish our bodies. So I'm seeing more pantries offer fresh fruits and fresh vegetables.
Yeah, that's really good. So where does the food come from?
So we partner with different local food retailers. And so there are a couple who we rely on, and they provide our food. Because, again, in addition to fruits and vegetables, we also provide things like poultry products, turkey products. We provide healthy cereals. We provide plant-based milk, because a lot of people are lactose intolerant. And so those retailers that we work with are equipped to not only provide the fresh fruits and vegetables, but also the different poultry products and the, things like the dairy products like the plant-based milk.
Yeah. And do you have any idea of how many people you might have helped?
So we would measure that in terms of the number of bags of food that we've given away. And to date, we've given away more than 2,500 bags of food.
Wow. And what would someone get in an average bag?
That's a great question. And so an example of what you would find in one of our bags is a focus on breakfast. So we would include bananas, heart-healthy cereal, fresh orange juice, and plant-based milk, and maybe even turkey sausage patties. So that would kind of be like in the area of breakfast. And then we look at snacks for children, healthy snacks. So in a bag, you would find things like cherry tomatoes and baby carrots as healthy snacks for children and adults. You might find some lunch offerings. So we would include things like whole wheat bread and sliced turkey meat. And then maybe as a snack for, that lunch, you might find some fresh strawberries. So those are, some of the examples of the different types of items that you would find in one of our bags of food.
Yeah. And so how does the whole scheme work? How do people know where to find you?
Oh, yeah. Well, we definitely leverage social media. We are on Facebook and Threads and LinkedIn and Instagram. And so when there is a pantry, we announce the day and the location and the time of that pantry on our social media channels. We also promote the work that we're doing and the announcement of pantry dates on our website, which is mealsinthemeantime.org. And then with our partner, with whom we are doing the pantry, they promote as well. So it's a lot of social media promotion. We also promote pantries in local newspapers. And then from time to time, we are able to get a spot on local television and they promote and announce our pantries as well.
Yeah, wonderful. Now, I'm sure you must rely very heavily on volunteers to help you out. So how many volunteers do you have and how do you recruit them?
Yeah, I would say that volunteers are the fuel that powers our nonprofit engine. There is absolutely no way that we could do what we do without the help of our volunteers. And just to give you an example, Liz, of the ways in which our volunteers help us, the truck with food is delivered the morning of the pantry. And so our volunteers help with unloading that truck, staging the food items, assembling those food items into bags, placing those bags in the staging area for pickup. And then most important, they are the ones who are putting the bags of food directly in the hands of pantry visitors via their vehicles, because it is a drive-through pop-up food pantry. So we'll ask visitors to, pop the trunk or rather open their front or their back door, and then we place those bags of food directly into the vehicle. And this, just in terms of how we recruit, over the years, we have built up a database of more than 100 volunteers who have frequently come out to help us with one of our pantries. And so when we announce a pantry, we also send a notification to those volunteers, letting them know that help is needed. And so for one particular pantry, I would say we need anywhere from 10 to 15 volunteers. That's the manpower size, if you will, that helps us execute the work that needs to be done on site.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of work, Kevin.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's good work.
Yeah.
It is good work and it's important work.
Yeah, and very satisfying, I'm sure.
Absolutely. It is fulfilling. It is fulfilling for me in ways that I've not experienced in life, because this is the work of helping people who don't have access to food. And food is such a basic need. I think that the need for food is one of the most basic needs that we have as human beings. And the thought that there are people who literally are hungry daily is heartbreaking. And so it is fulfilling. And again, for me, it's purpose fulfilled to know that in our own small way, we're helping to fight food insecurity. Yeah.
So how do you divide your time, Kevin, between your L&D detective work and your volunteering?
I don't know how I do that, Liz. I have literally tried in a few different ways to figure out where to allocate, or rather not where, how to allocate my time, right? Because there is the L&D detective work, and then there is the work of my nonprofit, Meals in the Meantime. And I've tried to figure out, like, what is the right split, if you will? Is it 80-20? Is it 50-50? Is it 70-30? Is it 3 days a week focus on that, 4 days a week focus on this? And to be honest with you, Liz, I'm still trying to figure that out because I haven't figured out how to create the right balance. What I am focused on is making sure that I give 100% to both, right?
Yeah.
So in essence, I'm living a life of giving 200% because I'm giving 100% to the L&D Detective brand and 100% to Meals in the Meantime. The good news, Liz, is that while I haven't figured that out yet, I'm enjoying the journey.
Yeah.
The work of helping people in the global L&D community who are trying to figure out how to measure impact is so important to me because it's an area where I see us continue to struggle. And I believe I have some answers. And as long as I know that people are struggling, and as long as I believe that I have an answer, I'm committed to helping L&D practitioners around the world figure out how to measure impact. So I found a great deal of joy in that area. And then there's the area of helping people who need food. And I just think to myself, wow, what better work could there be,
Yeah.
right? So, again, I haven't figured out how to, split the time between the two, but, sometimes I'm thinking, well, Kevin, maybe you don't have to figure that out. Just keep doing what you're doing because it's working.
Yeah.
So I guess, Liz, up until the point where it's not working, I'll just continue to figure it out and continue to do the good work of both. And then I'll just continue to learn how to live without sleep.
Now, as you know, the topic of my podcast is networking. So I'd love to know, Kevin, how you grow your network in the L&D community and for Meals in the Meantime.
Man, that is a great question. And so in terms of growing my network, and Liz, interestingly enough, for me, it's not always about growing my network. It is about how do I provide value to my network as it is. And if it grows as a result of that, that's great. But my intention is not to grow my network, but really my intention is to add value to my network, right?
Yeah.
From the L&D Detective perspective. In the L&D world, in the global training, learning, and talent development industry, I really want to focus on helping my network, supporting my network, being a resource to my network. And so the ways in which I continue to do that is through writing, speaking engagements, and through the engagements that I have with my clients and my customers. In terms of the nonprofit world and growing that network, now it's a little different there because that's a network that I do want to grow because I want to stay connected with other organizations that are doing similar work.
Yeah.
So that we can figure out how to combine our efforts and do even more and even greater work. And so one of the ways in which I work to grow my network in the nonprofit industry is through attending different events, different community events, working with different local townships, working with government industries, just really finding ways in which I can get the Meals in the Meantime name out there in the public so that people know about who we are and what we do. So I'm just making sure that I stay close to community-based organizations, and different agencies that are doing the work of helping people.
Now, you and I met at a conference. So how useful do you find conferences in terms of networking with other people in your industry?
Oh, it's for me, the networks that exist in the L&D community, particularly those that show up at conferences, Liz, for me, it's almost like it's like a family reunion.
Yeah.
Because I know so many people in our industry, so many people who are doing amazing and good work. And so when we get together at conferences around the world, it's an opportunity for us to really support one another in the work that we're doing. It's an opportunity to hear ideas about the ways in which we are doing the work. And so the networks that exist that, again, show up at the different global conferences and workshops where I do keynotes and such, those are just really inspiring for me. And what I love about those is that they keep me connected to the community because we're all over the world, right? And so how often do we get a chance to see each other in person? So that's why I say, for me, those networks that exist at those conferences are just like big family reunions.
Yeah. So my final question then, Kevin, if people want to know more about the L&D Detective or how to get the detective kit, or they want to know more about Meals in the Meantime, what is the best place for them to find and connect with you?
Yeah, thank you for that. And so, our listeners can definitely connect with me on social media. I'm on LinkedIn, I am on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads as well. You can also visit my website, and that's where you can learn all about the L&D Detective. And most important, you can get a free, yes, that's free copy. You can get a free downloadable copy of the L&D Detective Kit on my website at kevinmyates.com. That's kevinmyates.com. That's where you'll find out, a lot about what I'm doing and the work that I do as the L&D Detective. And then for the work that we're doing to help people food, I would invite our audience to definitely go to our website at mealsinthemeantime.org. And that's where you can see some of the pictures of our pantries. You can read about our mission. And what you can really see that I think is important is an impact report that identifies the amount of food that we've given away to date.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being my guest. I've really enjoyed our chat.
It has been an awesome way to start my day, Liz. Thank you so much for inviting me to talk to you.
Thanks for listening to Small Business, Big Network. If you found this podcast useful, please do rate, review and subscribe. And don't forget to share it with the rest of your network too.